Well, hello there everyone, and today we're taking a look at this beauty over here, which is basically a building of MVDRV in Rotterdam. It's basically this couch, they call it like this, and it is a very interesting project because the way how they're designing it is very kind of grasshoppery. So we want to go through this today and basically have this ready within Grasshopper and Rhino, obviously, and to use it and understand the way how it works and just use normal components to manipulate it to our needs. So if you want to know how this works, then let's get started. Great, so the most important thing first is obviously to start with a clean canvas. That's quick, huh? Anyhow, we are going to try this out first to sketch out how it works by an idea. So just to copy this image, and we're done. No, like let's kind of take this a little bit into the Grasshopper idea, okay? So basically, you are having, there are obviously different ways of designing it, but I just want to sketch out how we would go about it. So you see you have those two boxes here in the ends, and then you have a line that goes across it here in the middle, like this one here. And we want to take this line and be sure that it doesn't obstrude those boxes here in the ends, right? And then as well, obviously, making the one below here and then here in the back to have this upwards kind of situation. So we're going to do this by, first of all, creating just like a first box. I have a point here. And then we're going to move this point over there, and we're going to have a second point. And then create an equal box that goes basically in the other direction. Then those, we then also have to determine this point a little bit to the left, a little to the right, and also here a little bit to the left. And because those need to be staying boxes, we also want to determine a point that goes slightly afterwards. And then obviously the point in the middle where you have this up or downward movement. And basically the same thing that we're doing here, we're also going to put up here and manipulate this point then in this direction. And in the other case, we're gonna go in the direction lower. And obviously we have then this shape that will basically look like this and look like down here like that. And it needs to be connected in a way so we can actually, have like the 3D shape that goes above it as well, and potentially stairs if we have the time. Okay, so how do we go about this? So let's start first of all by creating those boxes here in the beginning and in the end. So we have like a basic visual first. So we are going to, well, first I'll put this into this mode, it looks a bit similar. We're going to create a rectangle. And this basically takes a base, the plane, and an X and a Y size. So let's think of this in meters. We can also actually change the units here into meters. We wouldn't do such a big difference, but just for the sake of simplicity. So let's go with like 3 meters in the X size and also in the Y size. As you see right now, there's something happening there, but obviously the plane itself is bigger than the thing, but we're just going to increase the plane or the rectangle that goes from that plane. What is also important is that we want to actually define this point. So we're going to construct a point. And in this case, we're just going to put it in here. And this point will be just a 0, 0, 0 point. Now, we want to, like we said before, we want to have also the other point that's right next to it. How do we get this point? Well, we can either deconstruct this rectangle over here, or we're just going to move the point into the X direction. excuse me, and we're going to use unit X, use the X slider over here, and gonna move it over there. So then we have it move to the X direction. And we're gonna rename the slider to X size box, and this to Y size box. Perfect, now we have those two. We also want to create a box that's also on this other side. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, I would suggest that we're going to create a line, and this line will come from our second point that we defined over here, and goes into the X direction like this. And this then determines basically the length of the whole thing. So because it needs to have a certain length, we want to determine that by this. So we're gonna use maybe a little bit bigger number, like around 22. Overall then couch size middle, or like couch size stairs. And we're gonna put this in here. And this will basically, oh, we actually need to put this in the length, not in the X vector. This creates our line over here. And at the end point of this line, we want to create another rectangle. So we're gonna use the rectangle, and actually we're gonna use the move point here, take this into the X vector as well, and use it and move it directly along this line on the same position. Then we would have the same plane here, and we would actually use the same X box size and Y box size. And now you see we have two very nice boxes. The last thing we want to do is create actually another point here in the end that is responsible for our last point. And with that, we're just gonna use the X move command over here that we created here in the beginning, and we're gonna force it upon this point here, and now we would have the last point. Now that's really great, but I also want to create a point here that goes a little bit over here, because otherwise, if we would have to bend the curve, it would basically be happening the following. So we have like from the side view, right? Then we have the box here. And if we have a point then directly here, then what would happen is that the curve that we're going to create would actually be kind of like bending downwards here already. And you see we don't want this to happen in this case. So we want to have a third point that's basically up here and top, so it can go over here first and then bend down, basically in theory, like this. That's why we want to create another point that is basically between this and this point, but like slightly to the left or to the right. So we're gonna do this by, again, move and then take the X commands. And then we're gonna create a value that we name couch start. And we're gonna put this point into the motion of the first point here. And then we're gonna create a motion also for the other point over here. So but then we do have to do it negative, because if I would just copy this and put here, you see it will go into the same direction, but we wanna go to the other direction. So you're just gonna use the X vector here and use it as a negative direction. Great, and now we basically have those two middle points here defined. Furthermore, I would like to create a point that's basically in between those points, or actually in the middle of those 2 points, so that we have that set as well. So let me just take a look. We have our point that is moved over here, and we're going to use the same thing. And now we're actually going to right click it, click on expression, and then type x divided by 2. And this basically uses this value that we created here, and it divides it by 2. So then we would actually have a point here in the middle. Very nice and doable. Great, now we have basically our 2 points here that go on the side, the points that create our basic size of our thing, and then obviously our other points as well. Actually, I think right now you see it moves in both simultaneously because we put this line in there like as a stable point. Actually, it might be more intelligent to have this set up afterwards, but I think for now this at least works. We can always just rescale it in the middle and then it would be at the same position. Good. Now that we have that, I would like to move all those points also to the upper side over here. So we're just gonna simply use the move command. And then I would actually like to join those points all together so we have them like nice and tight, you know? So you're gonna use merge, and I would also like to have them in a way so they are in the correct direction. So we have to be careful to choose them correctly. So first of all, we're gonna use this point here as the first one. Then we're gonna use this point as the second one. Then we're gonna use this. Now I'm gonna confuse myself even. This point as the third one, and then this point as the fourth one, and then this point as the fifth one, and then now we have to do some lucky guessing. This point as the sixth one, and this one as the seventh one. And now, if you, for example, go to for point list, we would have those points in the correct order, as you see. It's like it goes from 1 to from 0 till 6, because they start at 0 in computer programming. That's the way why it was made that way, like the order that it starts at 0. Good. Now we have those points very nice and tidy. We want to move them exactly at the point here on top. So we're going to use the unit Y command, and we're going to use the Y box size that we defined here in the beginning, and basically move it into the motion. And then we have our points over here, and again they're also in the correct order. Now that we have that, we would like to first of all move them all upwards, just into the Z position, like that. So this would be basically our tennis box size that we have around here, like those boxes here and left and the right. Let's make this like around 3 meter, like 70 something. And now we have it ordered here, and we're also gonna put this into the orbit there. Good. Now that we have that, we want to also create that the middle point here goes a bit up and down, and basically what this like why it's like have this like weird funny great shape. So this is like what we want to create now. So we're going to do this by doing the following, and we have to look at those two things in a separate way. So, and that's why we also use the point list command, because we want to basically grab the fourth point, so the third indice, because we start at 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 3. We take this one, and we're gonna move this one upwards and this one downwards. So we have this kind of slope effect on it. So we're going to use the move command again. It's gonna be a lot of moving today, yeah. And put it into the geometry here, into the Z direction here. And then we're gonna create a number slider between 0 and something. But as you see, now they all get moved upwards, and we just want to have one moved upwards. So we're gonna use the list item command, and we're going to create it from the one over here. And we are going to use the third indice. So we're going to type in just 3 like this, or we can also use a number slider, doesn't really matter, like this or that. Numbers, I would say a panel is more better in this case, because we don't want to touch this like at all. And then we're going to use this as the geometry that we want to move upwards. And as you see, it is created like that. Now, we have this list over here and then this point over here, but we want to basically fuse them together. Now, normally you might think, okay, I would use just merge and then put this one with that one. But if you use the point list command, you see it doesn't really give us the result that we want to have, because we basically put in the first point here and then all the other ones over there. And this then would create 8 other points that we cannot really use in this order. We don't have the nice correct kind of list order in this thing. So we're going to use the command replace items. And we're going to use, it takes like the 4 things. This one you can kind of actually ignore, but we need to take the basic list that we have over here. Then we want to choose the item we want to replace. So we want to or the one that we create here that we moved upwards. And then also the indice that we want to replace at which position. This is going to be 3. And this, as you see, if you want to put this one into the list, it creates this list that we wanted to have to begin with, but it only has this point here in the middle that's a little bit more higher. Great. Now that we have created this thing, we want to do the same thing for the other thing. So we could either just do this whole thing again and just paste it over, but I think it would be a great time to actually show you also how clusters work. They're really useful sometimes to tidy up your work. So basically we're going to define the 2 inputs. And for example, this one here would be the list item, and then this would be like the output over here. And then we're just gonna mark all of this stuff, and then middle mouse button click, and then click on cluster. And this then basically gives us the input, and then we can actually rename it, the points, and then the indice, or the index, and then the factor. I guess it could be it could just stay this way. We're gonna copy this, and then we're gonna copy the number slider, but make it a little bit in the negative, because we wanna maybe have a different slope in this case. And we take the points that we have on the other side that are not moved into the y direction, and move those ones here. And as you see, it also created the points up here now. I'm just gonna hide those ones that we had here before. With Control Q, you can hide things actually in a quick matter. And with that, we basically have now also the points over here, which are again in the correct order. But we want to have them negative a little bit, like this, so we have them more on the floor. Good. Now the special part comes where we want to interwave those 2 together, or basically make them so they create a correct line in our case. So there are different curve metrics. Basically, we can use either interpolate or NURBS curve. I think NURBS curve would be the correct space here. And then we need to take a look if it still works, because as you see, the point here is a little bit more below. And if I change the degree to 2, it would actually stick to this thing. So here you would now have a perfect straight line that doesn't move. And for example, I just show you, if I increase it, the more the degree of the curve increases, the more the dependency of the other points increases as well. So if I just have a 2, so it would be just basically 1 neighboring point, or 2, I don't know exactly, but it will be as many neighboring points as we want to have it here. And as you see, if it's just as 1, it's just going to be a polar line. Good. And this we're going to also do the same thing with the other thing here as well. And now you see it already looks a little bit like the thing that we wanted. And we're just gonna hide some other stuff. And again, we can go back to the parametric way of looking at it and change those parameters to our liking. Yes, that's pretty great for now. And now then we also have now we basically want to put them together, and we can do this by, I think we can do this by doing a ruled surface. And this should give us, I think, exactly the result that we want to have here in this case. And yeah, that's pretty great already. And I also would like to now use the box rectangle command now, and also from the beginning to rectangles that we had here. And I want to put them in the unit size that we created here in the beginning as well, so that they also correspond a little bit more nicely to our environment. There's one more thing I want to do, and it is actually extruding this, because when we're looking at the things, it also has like the staircase thing. So this will be a little more complex, but I just want to show you like how to make the general shape out of it. And this could be then something for another video, but I just want to show you that piece as well. So we're going to use the base here, and the direction Z will be basically the thickness of our roof of our piece here, and we make it a bit like less. And this then, as you see, will create our very nice extrusion that we want to have here. So that's already working pretty well. And there's one more command I want to use. It's called contour, that basically takes the shape of the thing, and we're gonna create basically a like the staircase, more or less in a way how it could be seen in that manner. And we're just gonna reduce this a little bit. This is also quite heavy, so be careful with using it too quickly, you know. And there might be also, I see like there might be some little mistakes as well. And yeah, we can also create now an extrusion of this base here, and we can use the direction as the distance of the contour that we created. And by that, and we're also going to use a boundary surface, and this then creates our very nice staircase that we want to have. Basically, be a little bit careful, because here you see the calculation time, and if it is not displayed for you, you should click on display, and I think then it should be, there's always like the one button that it should be profiler, I think, exactly. You go under display, canvas, widgets, and then profiler. It basically shows you the calculation time of each of your components, so you know what takes what time. And as you see, this component is a component that takes a long time. So for example, if we would change one variable like the size of the box to something else, you see it's very, very laggy, because it has to recalculate everything from scratch. So I always recommend in those cases to use a data dam like this. And that basically makes everything invisible until you press play. So if we, for example, want to change the size a little bit, like back and forth how we want it, you know, a bit more like that, then we just gonna click this button here, and it calculates the thing for us, and then we have our very nice results. And I'm just gonna use the custom preview command here, and use a swatch to use a color. And I think I should then use the Arctic mode maybe. So we have a very nice view of it. Yeah, nice. And in that matter, I would thank you very much for watching. Hope this helped. I think it's a very good way of getting to know Grasshopper and knowing how things work. And I think this example of MVDRV is a very good example of how you can achieve, with a rather simple way of thought and just points and lines, and just moving them around, you can achieve this very great structure that you can use in so many ways. Obviously the concept needs to be right before you can produce anything, but I think in this case it is a very great idea, and it's a very nice building that people can look at. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Hope this helped. Again, I'm repeating myself here, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.